Welcome back, my devious darlings. Today we are summarizing memories of a tradition near and dear to our black hearts. Saturday morning cartoons. Yes, those innocent, brightly colored shows that had children glued to their television screens with sugary cereals in hand. But there was something more. Hidden within the realm of these innocent shows were tales that crept from the shadows, stories that were dipped in the eerie, the spooky, and the downright terrifying. Yes, we're diving deep into the haunted halls of Saturday morning cartoons with a horror twist. We began as we must with the granddaddy of spooky Saturday morning cartoons, the timeless classic Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Mystery fans, hold on to your ghosts, cause here come the spookiest, most spine-tingling tales ever to chill a bone. Delight and fright, shiver and shake, quiver and quake. Watch Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Scooby-Doo first graced our haunted airwaves in 1969, and the world of cartoons was never the same. For many, this was the gateway to all things spooky, a friendly introduction to the macabre, a talking Great Dane, his gang of teenage sleuths. Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Shaggy solved mysteries that often involved strange and supernatural happenings. The twist, of course, was that the real monsters were always some disgruntled villain in a rubber mask. But what made Scooby-Doo a classic is the way it balanced genuine creepy atmospheres with comedy. The abandoned amusement parks, haunted mansions, and foggy cemeteries were often as chilling as they were charming. The combination of lighthearted humor, suspense, and spooky fun made it an iconic staple of Saturday mornings, and perhaps the reason so many young horror fans got hooked early. Plus, can we really ignore the episodes where Scooby-Doo and the gang ran into actual horror icons? The new Scooby-Doo movies featured crossovers with the likes of the Addams Family, and most memorably, some guy named Vincent Van Ghoul in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Oh, how delightful those times were. Now, if Scooby-Doo was the haunted house of the Saturday morning cartoons, then the Real Ghostbusters was the bustling paranormal metropolis. Based on the smash hit 1984 film Ghostbusters, the animated series took the concept of hunting ghouls and spirits, turned it into a delightful weekly romp for children. The show, which ran from 1986 to 1991, followed our favorite team of paranormal investigators, Egon, Peter, Ray, and Winston, as they busted ghosts in New York City. The series took a surprisingly dark turn for a cartoon aimed at children, with some of the ghosts and creatures being outright terrifying. Or do you remember the Boogeyman episode? Ooh, oh boy, but the one with Samhain. Well, they called him Sam Hain, where he wanted Halloween to last forever. Could you imagine? That would be so delightful. Yes, that terrifying figure with his warped face and long limbs who haunted children's closets. The Boogeyman, not Sam Hain. I know it's pronounced Samhain, but in the cartoon they called him Sam. Or the eerie episode where the Ghostbusters must face a giant sentient subway train. The Real Ghostbusters played on primal childhood fears while maintaining its humor and wit. It truly captured the balance between horror and adventure, much like its live-action counterpart. The animation, particularly in the early seasons, could be surprisingly creepy, with unsettling designs for some of the creatures. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill ghost story. This was horror for kids, wrapped in vibrant colors and snappy one-liners. It's a show that has stood the test of time, and its eerie influence still echoes in the haunted halls of our memories. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice!
It's showtime!
Tim Burton's cult classic film was already a celebration of the bizarre, the creepy, and the fun. But when it was adapted into a Saturday morning cartoon in 1989, it became something truly unique. While the film had its dark comedic tone, the cartoon fully embraced the weird and wonderful. In the animated series, the ghost with the most Beetlejuice becomes the mischievous anti-hero with Lydia as his goth best friend. Together they travel between the real world and the crazy monster-filled netherworld, where anything can happen, and usually does. Unlike other shows, Beetlejuice didn't rely on horror tropes for its spooks. Instead, it reveled in its own eccentricity, playing with the absurd and grotesque. The show was a blend of macabre humor, surreal visuals, and a lovable weirdness that appealed to both kids and adults. The animation was wonderfully chaotic, and every episode featured strange and otherworldly creatures. And while it wasn't scary in the traditional sense, it embraced the darker side of fantasy in a way that kids could still enjoy. It showed us that Halloween wasn't just a holiday, it was a way of life. Now, my ghoulish friends, let us take a turn toward the darker, more gothic side of Saturday mornings. In 1994, a show emerged that would redefine the landscape of animated television: Gargoyles. Created by Greg Weisman, Gargoyles was a bold and ambitious show that took the elements of Shakespearean tragedy, gothic horror, and modern-day action and blended them into something extraordinary. It followed a clan of stone gargoyles, cursed to sleep for 1,000 years, only to awaken in modern-day New York City. The show's tone was far more mature than most Saturday morning cartoons, and it delved into themes of loss, redemption, and the battle between light and darkness. And of course, it didn't shy away from the eerie. The designs of the gargoyles themselves, towering winged creatures of stone, were both majestic and intimidating, and the antagonists ranged from sorcerers to ancient evils. But beyond the gargoyles, there were also episodes that delved into legends of the supernatural, from ghostly hauntings to mythical creatures. The atmosphere of the show was dark, brooding, and filled with a sense of dread and wonder. It's no wonder that Gargoyles has remained a cult classic, and its gothic horror aesthetic continues to captivate new generations. Now we take a trip back to 1978 for a show that perhaps not everyone remembers, but certainly left its mark: Fangface. Imagine, if you will, a show where a teenage boy named Sherman Fangsworth turns into a werewolf at the sight of the moon every single time. The premise alone promises chaos, and Fangface delivers in spades. Produced by Ruby Spears Productions, Fangface was a fun, frantic addition to the Saturday morning lineup. Each episode followed Sherman and his group of friends as they embarked on various adventures and mysteries. However, whenever Sherman transformed into the goofy and good-natured Fangface, things took a wild turn. Despite its werewolf-centric premise, Fangface leaned heavily into comedy, though it didn't shy away from horror tropes. Each episode was filled with spooky settings, haunted castles, curses, ruins, and eerie swamps, making it a perfect for horror-loving kids. While Fangface wasn't the scariest cartoon, it was certainly one of the most endearing for kids who couldn't resist a little supernatural fun. And so, my dear creatures of the night, or Saturday morning, we have come to the end of our eerie exploration of Saturday morning cartoons with a horror twist. From haunted mysteries to supernatural sleuths, from friendly ghosts to terrifying ghouls, these shows gave us a reason to wake up early and embrace the spookier side of life. Now, I know we've left out a lot, like Funky Phantom, or what else? Mummies Alive, Drac Pack. There are so many more, so let us know in the comments below if you want us to delve into any of the other shows from Saturday morning. Now, whether you were enthralled by the ghostly adventures of Scooby-Doo or captivated by the gothic grandeur of Gargoyles, these cartoons carved out a space for the macabre in the world of children's entertainment. They dared to walk the line between lighthearted fun and spine-tingling fear. Spine-tingling fear, Jody. Really? Fangface? And for that, we must tip our hat or our fangs. Until next time, my dear fiends. Oh, be sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends. Click the button, to get notifications. Until next time, pleasant nightmares to you all.